today I thought it would be fun to check out this video that's kind of been going around YouTube a little bit. It shows what American Army recruits go through at boot camp. I am obviously from Ireland, in case you didn't know by now. We operate as a country of neutrality, and while we do have an army, they primarily exist for peacekeeping missions. It's not my business to comment on what another country's army does. I'm just going to check out their training routine because I can imagine it's very athletic and something I wouldn't be able for. Especially after all the cake in quarantine. There was a lot of cake. Have I ever considered joining the army? No, absolutely not. I've seen people do that tire thing. I would fall over. I've seen them do the holding the rail thing. I would hold the first rail and then fall down. Can I do a push-up? No, I can't even do one push-up, and I'm not even exaggerating. So on any level, I'm going to admire their fitness, I would imagine. So on any level, I would imagine I'm going to admire their athleticism. I also anticipate some men shouting in each other's faces because that's what you see in movies, so.
Drop down, give me 20 squad thrust now!
Before I get into the video, do be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, next time you order a soda, it's gonna taste wrong. And you know why? Because it's gone off. And that's an actual thing that happens more than you know. It happens to me sometimes, and I point it out, and people look at me like I'm crazy for saying a soda went off, but it does, and it can. So that'll happen to you if you don't subscribe. So subscribe. And on with the video.
Why are you moving? Why are you moving?
Shouting in the face. Oh, cool. I'm happy to see a lady shouting in someone's face.
Army Bootcamp. Before they join the United States Army, all recruits have to graduate from a 22-week program known as One Station Unit Training.
So this is to wean out
also
the weak,
known
like me.
as OSIT. It happens here at Fort Benning, a 182,000-acre military installation that straddles the Alabama-Georgia border about 100 miles southwest of Atlanta. Every year, more than 18,000 soldiers graduate before joining the more than 470,000 people actively serving in the Army.
13, 14, 15.
Although most of the recruits that we saw during our time there were male, recruits trained together in gender-integrated
That's so
platoons.
interesting.
These young men and women that volunteer to
That's
serve,
pretty
they
cool.
show up to us as
Although that
civilians,
might bring
and then we
other
take
problems.
them through a transformative process to turn them into soldiers.
You just go to the position of attention and you stay in position of attention.
On a rain-soaked week in February, we spent 4 days inside the Army's
Rain would
Maneuver
make it so
Center
much
of
harder.
Excellence,
I mean,
which
that's what they're gonna
trains
have to deal with.
soldiers to serve in the infantry and armor branches. We saw different companies at various stages of training. On day one, new infantry
they're all
recruits on
fresh.
a bus from the Atlanta airport
Shiny
arrived
new.
at the 30th AG Battalion headquarters, where all new recruits are received.
Listen up. You only got one to hear from you at this point is yes, drill sergeant, no drill sergeant. You understand? Yes, drill sergeant. What did I tell you?
Some of them are psyched. They're like, yes,
The
drill
minimum
sergeant.
age to enlist in the Army is 17, and the maximum age is 35. The
I mean,
base
it makes
salary
sense.
for an
Oh, I didn't know there was a
entry-level
maximum
private is
age.
about $20,000 a year.
Let's go.
It's not.
30 seconds.
That's very low, isn't
Bring
it?
it back.
Once they're off the bus, the first order
I
of
don't
business
know
is establishing the
standard
code
salaries
of
in
conduct.
America.
I promise you, if you don't pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, you're gonna make your Army career very short. You treat everybody with dignity and respect, regardless of race, religion, color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, and all other protected categories. Yes? Yes! Sexual assault is any unwanted physical contact.
They deal
in
with
a
it head on.
sexual
That's pretty
nature.
cool.
So if you put your hands on another individual and you're not instructed to, and you're not saving their life, and they file a sexual assault, and it comes down that you put your hands on this individual when you weren't supposed to, that is going to be on you. You will get kicked out of the military, and then you'll probably have to file as a registered sex offender. Do you understand?
Before they go inside, the new recruits learn some basic commands and standing positions.
You can definitely see some that I'm grateful will make it.
Pizza in between your toes. If you look around, they're going to see you.
Cause you're taller than everyone else.
Quickly!
I mean, can he help when he's taller?
Move your feet. Grab one.
What was that? What was that? The guy at the
recruits grab
door.
a snack that's
Was he
waiting
a
for them
statue or
inside,
real?
consisting of a fruit cup, sunflower seeds, a granola bar, and a juice box.
Oh, they got a juice box.
Remain silent.
Since
City Cup.
1775, the the Army has been the bearer of our nation's strength in every
Imagine
crisis
you've had a
or
long
conflict.
travel day,
Make
though.
no mistake about
Already
it,
you'd be
the
tired.
journey you are embarking upon will not be easy. But you wouldn't be here if we didn't think you couldn't meet the challenge.
Listen up for your last 4-year social.
After being welcomed, recruits begin what's known as processing, which can take 1 to 2 weeks before their actual training begins.
In a little bit, we're giving you a period to
So
go
what
in a
do they
room
do
by
for 2
yourself.
First, they're given one last chance to discreetly dispose of prohibited contraband like drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and inappropriate
What if you
photographs.
If any photo you possess
Are you
on
allowed
your
to smoke?
phone is less than a bathing suit, you will not have it. You will delete them all.
Recruits get rid of contraband in an amnesty room, where they dispose of it by throwing it down a metal chute.
Is anybody confused on what you can and cannot have?
The next morning, the recruits report to the barber shop,
I inhaled so hard, I
where
coughed.
one barber has worked at Fort Benning for almost 60 years.
I've been here ever since 1963.
I didn't know that was a real thing.
Recruits
I thought
are
that was
issued
just in the movies
uniforms,
for some reason, or I thought it might be
receive
optional.
a series
What if you really
of
like your
immunizations
hair?
and vaccines,
Immunizations, that makes sense.
and get their official photo taken, along with myriad housekeeping details that fill up their 1 to 2 week stay in processing.
Hey, sit up straight.
That is until processing ends
Okay.
and the time for training finally arrives.
Let's go. Grab your bags and go.
We found a company of recruits about to begin
That's so
training in the
young.
armor school.
Those are
Looks like a little boy.
These recruits are about
Oh,
to
Jesus.
be picked up and taken to their barracks, where they'll reside for the rest of their training.
Let's go. You guys
Even the
are on
buses
first
are
class
orderly.
now.
This is the last chance for recruits to change their minds before training begins, like one recruit who decided to stay behind.
Ah, why? Oh, I want to hear more about him. Why did he decide?
This short bus ride from processing to their new barracks will be the most peaceful moments these recruits will experience for a while. What happens next is known as the shark attack.
I'm just imagining wet socks this whole time. Like, if you had wet socks, all of this would be harder. And I don't know why. It just popped in my head.
They say what? Get your bags up right now. Get your bags up.
All right. I know they have to strip them down to build them back up again. Psychologically.
Well, it's really just a little shock to the system, so we can break them down to build them back up.
I just said that. Oh.
We're breaking a lot of habits from the civilian world, and nothing better than a little shock
Civilian
to
world,
the
that's
system
interesting.
to establish that that drill sergeant is in charge to let us start our training.
Pick up your bag and hold it.
The recruits spend much of the shark attack holding their heavy rucksacks above
God.
their heads,
Oh, I'd fail.
which
What if you
takes a
can't,
physical
though?
toll.
You have to do more push-ups, but I can't do a push-up.
You can't pick that bag up. You decided to join the army and you can't pick that bag up.
I'd be in trouble.
After about 20 minutes, the intensity begins to subside, and the drill sergeant's tone changes.
We only produce the best soldiers in the United States Army.
Motivational.
Training officially begins. Things do appear to calm down.
It's a movie.
They're such lads. The lads.
I always wanted to be a star.
We found this group of infantry soldiers in week 11 of their training, practicing on the firing range.
I can't do that.
The mood was
I
much
did it that
more
one
relaxed,
time on the channel.
Try to get 8 up on my level.
and their conversations with their drill sergeants are conducted at normal volumes, like when this drill sergeant educated the recruits on the meaning of the military expression 8 up.
Is a piece of 8 up gum good? You don't want something that's 8 up, right? You want something fresh. You break the seal, it smells like olive oil, right?
Eight up.
Okay.
That dynamic changes because we want the soldiers to become more critical.
Oh,
thinkers.
it's like
At
when I
that
did my
point,
my
we are
masters. In
turning
the
into
first year,
more
they're like, you do not think
coaches
for
and
yourself, and then in the
mentors. We
second
dial it
year, they're
back a
like,
little bit.
okay,
We don't want them frightened.
you need to think
We want them
entirely
to
for
be
yourself.
comfortable and in a state of mind that is receptive to learning and performing at that level.
Up to 241 hours of infantry OSIT are devoted to marksmanship, where recruits fire about 2,500 rounds using the M4 carbine, as well as the M249 squad automatic weapon, or SAW.
We create lethality. We create expert marksmen at their individual weapons because as an infantry soldier, that's what we're asking them to do.
Recruits get one of the most painful parts of training out of the way
I know what's coming.
early.
Once we check your seal, you will not touch your pro mat.
This group of infantry recruits was exposed to CS gas, or tear gas, in week 1 of their training.
You're going to continue to pile in until we tell you to stop.
Oh my
You're going to
God.
place your back against the wall.
The recruits
I
spend about
suppose
5 minutes
they do
inside
need
the
to
gas
learn.
hut.
He hasn't got his mask on.
Exiting the gas hut,
Why
the
is that?
recruits are told to flap their arms like birds to remove excess gas from their uniforms. According to a drill sergeant, the effects of the gas begin to wear off after
They must
about
take them
4
off
minutes.
inside.
Some training moves indoors, like combatives, where
Flappy,
recruits
flap,
learn
flap.
hand-to-hand self-defense tactics.
We're trying to teach them to achieve a dominant body position. So get out of one negative position and then switch roles so they end up having the upper hand in a fight.
Well, that's just good for anyone to know, really, isn't it?
During combatives training, recruits warm up with a particularly painful-looking exercise, referred to as the EO. While laying on their backs, they have to engage their core to wiggle across the entire room.
They use the momentum, shoulder blades.
Ooh.
the
You'd have
core
some
to help warm
painful
up, create
tummy the
space,
next
warm
day.
up the body.
I tried planking last week. I couldn't
Recruits
move
work
for
up a
days.
major appetite during training. But Fort Benning is big, and they're not always within range of the dining facility. When they're training in the field, recruits are issued MREs, which stands for Meal Ready to Eat. Each comes with an entree, like this vegetarian
tried
pasta
these.
with taco
They're
sauce, along with an
interesting.
assortment of items.
They were
like
nicer
mixed
than I
fruit, an
anticipated.
energy bar, and this instant French vanilla cappuccino. Recruits just add water, shake it up,
I
and
was most
enjoy.
surprised that there was
Once they're
generic stuff in
fortified,
them, like
recruits return to their training.
cappuccinos and stuff. I thought it'd just be like water
Recruits
and
spend up
porridge.
to 60 hours in training.
And they also
known
get
as MOUNT,
candy.
which stands for Military Operations in Urban Terrain.
Infantrymen are expected to
Who
fight
teaches
in
them how
different
to do
types
the
of terrain
makeup?
and survive and win the fight. Right now, they are getting their first taste of what that's like in an urban environment.
Rolling T. All right, coming up.
In operations across Afghanistan, Iraq, we are conducting clearance operations, and it's applicable wherever we go.
Do those guns work?
It's important for the future soldiers' muscle
'Cause what if
memory
some
because
silly
they
recruit
are
accidentally
working
let
as a
one
team
off or
with
something?
minimal communication, and they have to understand
Like,
how that
imagine you
coordination works
died
together.
your first day in training because somebody didn't know how to use their
After
gun.
22 weeks of
Jesus.
training, these infantrymen are ready to leave Fort Benning. Friends and family
22
gather
weeks.
to watch their soldiers
I mean, if you
graduate
come out of
on
that and you don't
Inouye
have
Field.
abs,
They look like soldiers. They act like soldiers. They're carrying their head high. I have trainees.
I mean,
that were
America,
not
you are
alive
very
on
good at
9/11.
ceremony
I
and
think that's
parties.
pretty powerful
It's
that I
true.
still can find American citizens that want to volunteer to serve
Wow,
their
that's
country when
crazy.
we continue to ask them to go to combat.
These new infantrymen don't have long to greet their loved ones.
Get on the bus!
Ah,
Or say
Jesus.
goodbye
I
to
am
their friends.
obsessed with watching those reuniting with soldiers
Before
videos,
leaving
mostly the ones
Fort
with
Benning
dogs.
to begin their service in
'Cause
the
I prefer
United
dogs to
States
people.
Army.
Wow, and they just, well, I suppose it's been 22 weeks, hasn't it? So they must know more than nothing. I feel like we had so much more to see, but that was just, I suppose that was just the beginning. Maybe there's more videos I could react to. Let me know. Yeah, so that was really interesting. I think there was a few surprising things, like that the men and the women trained together. I had no idea about that. I also was very surprised at how low the initial pay grade is in the army. I would imagine as you move up, that gets higher, and I can imagine the benefits are good. There must be some kind of pension plan, right? Right? I thought there would be more yelling, but maybe they just didn't show that. Would I be cut out for the army? No, absolutely not. I'd need to be in some kind of administrative role or sergeant filmmaker. I'm going to throw this over to Chewy to do a couple of shout outs now.
Hello, today I want to say a big thank you to all the people who try and support the channel independently. A couple of these people do so through PayPal. There's Michael, Paul, Shad, Conrad, Kim, Curtis, Gerald, Walter, Kent, Dennis, Lisa, Ryan, Jordan, Luke, Jeffrey and Gary, who sent some support via the PO box. And guess what? I have a surprise for you. If you want to support in a new way, I'm doing my part by adding this Chewy for President hoodie to the merch store. The patrons came up with the idea. It has my slogan on it, more treats for all, and it goes from extra small to very, 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 very big, and a 6XL. I am wearing a small for reference, but maybe it's a little bit tight because I ate a lot of treats. Maybe a medium would have been better. It comes in 3 colors, mine is blue, and if you do get one, tag us so we can see. Back to my mommy.
And that's it for today's video. See you on the other side. Bye. What else I'm in tune for? What else? Yeah, we'll see. Before I get into the video, oh, I'm not. The irony.